Hello, Guido here from blockbuilders.net, and today I want to show you how you can actually trade cryptocurrencies on Kraken. So Kraken is one of the biggest cryptocurrency exchanges in the world, and it's also the oldest I know of. They have been around since 2011, and so they are basically older than Coinbase, for example. As you can see, you can trade almost 600 cryptocurrencies there. And they're in a lot of countries. So they themselves claim they're in over 190 countries. And for me, for example, I'm in Germany, and so they're also present in Germany as well. If you don't have a Kraken account, I put a link down in the description that you can use to sign up. And if you use that link, you can actually take part in special promotions that they do every once in a while. So once you have an account, you need to verify your identity, and that's necessary because first of all, they are regulated by legal institutions. So you need to apply all the money laundering and KYC requirements and verification levels. So you need to verify your identity in order to also be able to deposit and withdraw money in your local currency into your bank account. So for example, for me, I can just deposit euros there via my bank account or via a money transfer, and I can also withdraw to my bank account, which is very convenient. So once you signed up and you verified your identity, you can actually start trading there. And the first thing you usually want to do is you want to deposit some money. And as I already said, the best, or if you are starting out in crypto and you probably want to deposit euros, that's quite easy. You just click on transfer and then select euros. And here for me in my area, there are three methods available. It's an easy bank transfer, money transfer, so a manual bank transfer, and PayPal. So easy bank transfer is basically you connect your bank account to Kraken. It's a bit scary if you're afraid there, because you can just move money with one click from your bank account to Kraken, but it works actually pretty well. And the more normal way is basically if you select manual bank transfer, and then you can basically just wire money to Kraken. So for me, for example, in Europe, we use SEPA, and so I can just wire money to them via my bank account. They don't charge any fee, and they basically open up a bank account in my name, and I can just send money there. Here you have to know, if you do that, the bank account you are sending the money from has to be under the same name than the bank account or the name of your Kraken account that your Kraken account is verified with. So my account is verified under my name, so also the bank account from Kraken is under my name. And however, I wouldn't be able to send money from my wife's account to my Kraken account because it's a different name, and they would reject the transfer and the money would come back to the bank account. So but you have a very small minimum deposit, so you can just test it out with a small amount, and it's even free to deposit money. So that's fairly easy. I wouldn't recommend using PayPal because they charge you a 2.4% fee. And if you withdraw the money, you have that fee again. So you're almost paying 5% for that transfer back and forth. So I wouldn't do that. I would always use a manual bank transfer or easy bank transfer. Both is fine. And besides your local currency, you can also deposit basically every cryptocurrency that is traded on Kraken, and you just select the cryptocurrency, and then they show you an address where you can send the cryptocurrency to. So it's also fairly easy, and there's also a minimum deposit. usually very low, so you can also try it out and test if it works. And withdrawing money is basically the same, more or less. You just click on transfer again, withdraw, and then you can either select your local currency, or you can select any cryptocurrency you want, and you can withdraw the money to a hardware wallet, for example, to a different exchange, wherever you want to withdraw to. Or you can basically, if you want to withdraw your local currency, you can do it again via bank transfer. And here they charge you €1 for the bank transfer, and it doesn't matter how much you want to transfer. So it's €1 flat. Even if you want to just withdraw €10, but if you want to withdraw €10,000, it's again just €1. And it's usually very quick, so it usually also arrives fairly quick, most of the time within seconds or minutes. So that's basically it. And once you have money in your account, you can basically start trading. And there are two main ways to trade. There's the regular Kraken, or you can use Kraken Pro. That's Kraken Pro. It looks a bit more complicated, but we will start out with the regular Kraken account. That's basically the way which is most convenient, but you pay for convenience here. So one trade is basically 1% fee. So if you want to buy something and sell it later, it's basically a 2% fee, one for buying and one for selling. And so you are losing actually 2%. That's why I would always recommend using Kraken Pro. However, it's fairly easy. You can say, okay, I want to invest $100 into Bitcoin, and then they basically give you a quote. And then you can just click confirm, and you would buy it. Here because it's basically $1 here because I'm buying for $100. So if you're buying for $10, it still would be $1 or 99 cents for the fee, and because it's a minimum fee here. So be careful with that. And selling would basically be the same. You can say, okay, I have Bitcoin in here, and you want to sell either everything or just half of it, or how much you want, and then you can basically sell it. You pay 1% again, and that's it. Once you bought these cryptocurrencies here, it's always spot. So if you buy a spot cryptocurrency, that basically means the cryptocurrency belongs to you. So you can withdraw to a hardware wallet, to a different exchange. It's your cryptocurrency. You can get liquidated. It's basically yours, and it stays in your portfolio. So that's fairly straightforward. And you can also convert from one cryptocurrency into another. However, you still have the 1% fee here. Another way to trade, and the cheaper way, would basically to use Kraken Pro. And if you want to switch to Kraken Pro, you just click here and then select Kraken Pro, and then you basically get redirected to Kraken Pro. And Kraken Pro looks like that. It could be that it's like a dark background on your page, and you can just switch it here. And here under settings, you can also change the language. So for me, for example, I could switch to German, or I can stay here in English. And for Kraken Pro, it's basically the same wallet. So if you use your wallet on the regular Kraken account, you basically have the same money in your Kraken Pro account, but they have several more wallets. As you can see here, when you click on the balance, they have a main or spot wallet. That's basically the same. And then they have a derivatives wallet. So a derivatives wallet is basically if you want to trade futures, and you can fairly easy move money from one wallet into another. So let's say I want to move all my money from the main wallet. I use the main wallet if I want to trade spot. So if I want to buy a cryptocurrency and own it, to derivatives, and then I can trade derivatives preview transfer, and it arrives immediately. So it's an instant transfer and I don't pay anything for it. It's just an internal transfer. And the advantage of that is when you trade derivatives, where you can use leverage and you can get liquidated, you can use, for example, 10x leverage, and then you would get liquidated when the price drops by 10% with a 10x leverage. That would only affect your derivatives wallet. It can't affect your spot or your main wallet. And yeah, now it's basically in my derivatives wallet and I can trade derivatives. So futures, what's also called. And that's actually a bit confusing here, because when you are searching for BTC, it basically shows you the perp market. So perps are derivatives or futures, and that you can trade with leverage. And futures are basically give you the option to trade with leverage, and you can go long or short. So if you think the price of Bitcoin will go down, you can actually short it, and you would benefit if the price actually goes down, and you would make money with it. And then, there are also the futures. So perpetual futures don't have an expiration date, and then they have a couple of futures that have an expiration date. However, you can see there's almost no volume. Most of the volume is always in perps, so futures that you can hold forever, basically. And then you have the BTC USD. That's basically all the spot markets here. So if it doesn't say perp or here future, then it's basically spot. And then you can basically, like we did here, and you can basically buy Bitcoin here on the spot market. And as you can see, the fees are way lower. You have 0.25% or 0.40%. And remember here on the Kraken main account, we basically had 1%. And the 0.4 and 0.4 are for limit orders, and the higher one is for market orders. We will come to that in a second. So if we want to look at it, we have basically the chart here. We have the order book. In red are all the sell orders, and green are all the buy orders. And then we can just, we have to buy now because it's a spot market, and we can select either market or limit order. I won't talk about these other ones yet. There will probably be a separate video about that, but most of the time you will either use market orders or limit orders. A market order is fairly quickly. You can just say, okay, I want to invest, I don't know, 100% of my money. I have not enough balance right now because the money is in my futures wallet and not in my spot wallet. So we can just switch to the BTC futures market. And as you can see, it's basically the same, more or less. You can just see here, and it's a perp market. And the fees are lower, obviously, for futures. Here it's only 0.02% or 0.05%. And then a market order is basically, the order will get filled immediately to the best price available on the market. And you usually can do that if your position size isn't too big. As you can see here, most of the orders in the order book are 0.0 or 0.1 BTC. So if you would buy 1 BTC, for example, with a market order here, it would move your price quite a bit. And that's even worse when it comes to smaller cryptocurrencies. So you really have to be careful if you are investing higher amounts into illiquid cryptocurrencies. And I can trade here because it's a futures market with up to 10x leverage. As you can see here, I only have 600 USD in my account. However, he already says I can trade up to 5,600 USD, so almost 10x leverage. And then I can just select how much I want to invest. And with the market order, I just click buy BTC perp, and it will fill the order immediately. With the limit order, it's a bit different. I'm just saying, okay, I want to invest, I don't know, $100. If the price of Bitcoin drops to 90,000, and then I click buy BTC perp. And then you can see there's now the order in the order book. It's under open orders. And if the price of Bitcoin would drop to 90,000 USD, then I would get my order filled and would buy 0.0014 BTC. And the order would stay in the order book actually until forever, or until I would delete them. And I will just delete it here. And it's gone. And now I will just open a market order to show you. And I can say, okay, roughly $100. Oh, buy BTC perp. And then you can see under positions, not under open orders anymore, but under positions, I have a long order here, and for roughly $100. And you can see here your profit, that you are up or down right now. And then you can you would also see, so for example, if I would open up a big position, I would also see my liquidation price here. And I can close it here, and then he even asked me if I want to close via limit or market order. I can say market order, for example, because it's just a small position, and then I just close it out. And that's basically it in terms of trading. And one more thing I want to talk about, it's the funding rate. So when it comes to perps, it really matters if more people are long or short. In crypto, most of the time, the more people or most people are long. That's why you usually have a positive funding rate. Right now, it's negative. That basically means that more people are short than long. And if you are long right now, as we were before, we would be basically paying this funding rate every hour. So it's only 0.0003%. And because the funding rate right now is negative, and we are, right now we are not, but if we were long, we would basically pay that every hour. And if I would close my position like a few seconds before the full hour, I would basically pay nothing. However, usually the fees are higher than the funding rate every hour. And the funding rate actually really matters if it's really high, because the funding rate can change anytime. Or if you want to stay in a position very long. Usually the funding rate for BTC, if you look at it for a whole year, is roughly 10%. So if you would stay in a BTC long position, I would roughly estimate or calculate that the funding rate that you're paying during that year is basically 10%. And yeah, if we were short right now, we would actually pay that. And if the funding rate would be positive and we were short, and we would receive it. So you can always farm funding. And that's basically it in terms of trading. And yeah, one more thing I want to talk about is basically staking. Kraken, you can basically stake some of the cryptocurrencies. So we have some proof of stake cryptocurrencies like Ethereum, for example. You can stake it on Kraken, and they basically pay you a certain amount of the interest you are earning. So they're basically paying you interest. And it really depends, like for the bigger cryptocurrencies that are more stable, it's usually very low. As you can see, for Ethereum, it's between 2 and 4.5%. For the smaller ones that are also very volatile, it's usually a higher percentage that you are getting, but you also have to think about the price that you are losing if like the market is going down. And these usually get hit very hard. And I would also be careful. I would never buy a cryptocurrency because it has a high staking APR. Yeah, that's basically it. If you have any questions about it, Please feel free to use the comments down below. If you find that video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.